Welcome back to HISD Unscripted. My name is Kara Esquivel, and I'm the Media and Communications Director for Hereford ISD. Today, I'm joined with...
Hi, I'm Brandy Murillo, and I am the HISD School Board President.
And I'm Ralph Carter. I'm the Superintendent for HISD.
So today we're going to be just continuing our discussions on the upcoming VATRE election. Within the coming weeks, you will be seeing a lot of information about VATRE start going out. Graphics, you'll be seeing more podcasts, just a whole bunch of stuff. Just trying to get the information out to our community. It's not to overload everyone, but we just want to make sure everyone is informed about how it affects the school district, how it affects our students, and how it affects, our taxpayers as well. That way, whenever they go to the polls to vote, they feel confident in whatever decision that they make. So the VATRE can get really confusing really, really fast. There's a lot of big words involved. There's a lot of numbers, percentages, all of that. So we're going to try our best to continue to simplify it, answer any questions, and, just address any concerns that are being brought up to us. So today we're actually going to talk about some of the community concerns we've heard so far and also address some of the questions that keep being brought up. So a big one that we keep hearing over and over again is, where is the money going to go if the VATRE passes? We know that if it passes, we're going to receive $1.9 million per year. And so where's that going to go? And then the big question, is this money going to go to athletics? So I'll let y'all kind of answer that.
Well, we started this process about a year ago, having conversations about the VATRE and why we needed to do it and how the money was going to be spent. And I think the school board was very adamant that we're not spending it on athletics, we're not spending it on that type of facility, that we are going to put it toward our kids and toward our staff. What that means is we're not going to use it for capital outlay projects like a new football stadium or new lighting or new field house or any of those kinds of things. But if a situation arises where we free up other budget items that can allow us to buy cross-country uniforms or things like that, then in a roundabout way it will benefit athletics.
The good thing is that this money it goes into the maintenance and operations fund, and we don't have to use it for any specific thing. So there's a lot of great opportunities if we were able to receive these funds that we could use the money for district-wide, not just a specific program.
Definitely. I know we had a few podcasts a while back in this summer that talked about, the unfunded mandates that schools across the state of Texas are having to find money to cover. There's a bunch of maintenance issues, especially, bathrooms at some of our schools that are constantly being brought up to us that need to be fixed. So like, Brandy said, this money is not restricted. We are able to use it wherever we need it. And, I think the big question too is, is this an athletics money? Are we going to get a new field, new stands, things like that? And so address that for a second.
Well, I think the first thing that has to happen before the board can even act on an issue is for me to recommend. I have to make the recommendation. And I can assure you I'm not going to make that recommendation. But I've also been told if I do, that the board will vote it down.
Coming from the board side, why is there such a strong opposition against the athletics?
I feel like any time that anybody is asked for funds, they automatically assume that it's going to go to athletics. I don't really understand what the controversy is with it, but it always seems, okay, we got a new field. That's great. We also got a new program to go along with that field, which is something that people should stop and listen to, because Hereford has pushed for a soccer program as long as I can remember. And with the new field that everybody was completely against, we were able to bring soccer to Hereford, which was a positive, because now we've got this new great program for girls and boys, something extra for them to participate in. But at the same time, everybody just assumes it's going to go to football. Well, we have a lot of other great UIL academic programs that could take advantage of some of this money as well, not just athletic programs.
Well, and I think whenever we talk about like, no, this money isn't going to athletics, it's not because we hate athletics. I mean, you're talking to one of the biggest supporters of Hereford athletics right here, but
Go golf.
yes, right. But athletics has seen an increase of attention, I think, over the past few years. There has been an upgraded facilities for athletic programs, but I think the school board and our superintendent believe that it's time for academics to get the spotlight for a little bit. It's no surprise or no secret that academics has been struggling a little bit here in Hereford ISD. And so being able to put some additional resources to help just increase those and get our students to where they need to be is something that we're focusing on as a school district, and something that I think needs attention and that we are putting attention to. With the VATRE money, we'd be able to provide more learning opportunities for these students. We'd be able to provide more funding. Something Dr. Carter, I know, talked about to one of the groups we went and spoke at was tutors, especially for those campuses that were struggling in their ratings, because tutors need to get paid. But if we are having to pinch pennies everywhere we turn, that's one of the things that we have to cut out. But it's something that our students desperately need. And so, just having those conversations on why this isn't going to go to athletics, but not because we hate athletics. We love our athletic programs. We hope that, our community does too, but I think right now it's going to be not athletics. Cut that out. Not athletics. I think right now it's going to be academic focus, and then, of course, maintenance focus for some crucial areas in our district.
Well, I think if you'll remember, we cut our budgets 5% this year, except for campus budgets, because we felt like they needed to focus on academics and work on those things. But in order to make our budget balanced, we had to cut our budgets, all the budgets, 5%. This money can go back to help us get those budgets back up to where they need to be if that's how we wanted to use the money. There's a lot of things you can do. It's not that we're against athletics, but right now athletics has what they need. And we don't need to continue to fund money or funnel money into those programs right now. But we do need to fund and funnel money back into the campuses, back into programs that we've had to reduce and or cut. I was asked the other day about our technology program. For example, Chromebooks. Why are we using Chromebooks instead of laptops? Why are kids using, equipment that's outdated and about to be put in the trash because they're at their life end? This money can go toward helping bring those things back in. I mean, we got a quote for some laptops the other day for, the quote was $500,000 just for about $250. So those are things that can be looked at. Those are things that we need to think about, especially when you think about the technology end of what's going on. And so that money can go toward that too. And right now, that's more important than what's going on the athletic field.
Well, definitely. And, in terms of like the technology needing to be upgraded, that's no secret. We're lucky that we have Chromebooks available for our students and that we are a one-to-one technology district. But there's so much you can't do on the Chromebooks that our students need to be able to do. I mean, for an example, our media team students, they're not able to really edit their pictures that they take and, just do some of the graphics that they need to do on the Chromebooks. And so we let them come up to our studio and use like a computer up here if they want to do that. But, if they had access to like a better computer, I think they'd be able to do some of that amazing stuff on their own time. And we'd probably see, better production from them. And it's a learning opportunity for them as well.
It is. And again, that's what the money's for.
And I think our CTE programs have grown immensely over the past few years as far as the students that are able to take advantage of those, and that costs money. That costs money to the district, but at the same time, we have students graduating with certifications that they weren't able to do before. And so I think funding money into our CTE programs is also extremely crucial.
Well, we just had a team, and I think it'll be in the paper this week. We just had a team go to a competition. It was the cosmetology team. If we have to continue to cut funds, those are the kinds of things that are going to be cut out. Last year we sent the hot rodders, the automotive CTE, to a huge contest, and they all came back with a bunch of scholarships, I think to the tune of $185,000.
Right.
But if we have to continue to cut because of what the state's doing with our M&O rate every year, almost 37 cents since 2018 has been taken away from us. Then those are things we have to look at as well. And that's why, again, the focus is not on athletics. The focus is on academics and helping students succeed beyond the football field.
Definitely. And, like you said, our students are coming back with scholarships. I know the one student that won last week in San Antonio, he came back with $1,000 scholarship. We sent Cambry Smith to nationals this summer in cosmetology as well. We have our hot rodders. We have so many great programs in our CTE programs. And, with CTE, we can even expand on it. There are more opportunities for our students if we have the funds available for them. And so, being able to have those opportunities for students to get those certifications where when they graduate, they can just go straight and get a job. You might remember a podcast that we did with Whiteface Ford, where students are coming just straight out of our automotive program and going straight to work. They're at Whiteface Ford and making more than any of us do pretty much at this table. And so it's a great thing, and it's something that we don't want to lose. We know that our community doesn't want to lose it, but we have to be realistic when we're looking at, almost $8 million that we've lost since 2018 because of the compressions. And, we've talked about next year, if the VATRE doesn't pass, we'll already be at anywhere from a negative $200,000 to a negative $400,000 deficit in our budget. So we have to cover that money somewhere. And that's with, rising inflation costs. So it might be more, by the time we get to this point next year.
And I think you can speak to this. I'm not real sure how you've done it here, but I know how I've had to do it in the past. You look at what you can cut.
Right.
Because our board doesn't want to present an unbalanced budget, a deficit budget. Where I came from in Lipan, they would not accept one. They expected us to cut it to the bare bones.
And I would assume we would be along the lines of that as well.
I agree.
Just from conversations we've had in the past.
Yes, and I think that, that it becomes a problem when you continue to lower the tax rate or compress the tax rate, and the state does not give us the money back. This is an opportunity for us to get some of that money they've taken away from us back. And that's why we decided to go out, so we don't have to continue to make, 5 or 10% budget cuts.
Well, and I think it is so, so important for our community to understand that 71% of the money that will come from the VATRE, so the $1.9 million, comes from the state. So they already have that in their little bank down in Austin somewhere. And so this forces them to give it back to us, because otherwise it's just going to stay in that bank and we wouldn't have access to it. Only, 29% is going to come from our community.
The local tax. Yeah.
Yes. So it is pennies on the dollar.
It's
so
minimal.
It is very minimal compared to how much, just positive it'll bring for our district. And, I know another concern that people have brought to us is that they're worried that their taxes are going to increase exponentially if the VATRE passes. In fact, this morning, me and Dr. Carter went and spoke with an organization, and he was talking about, if you have a $500,000 house, how much do you think your taxes will increase? And a lady went, a bunch. And we're like, actually, no, it's only going to be about $9 a month. So, whenever we're in a time where everything seems to be going up, like your insurance is going up, groceries is costing you $40 for a single bag at Walmart these days, it's hard to come to people and ask for more money. It's not received very well. It's met with a lot of negativity. But I think we should break it down just a little bit about how minimal this will cost. I mean, for most people, it's going to cost less than a Diet Coke every month.
You just have to go there, don't you?
Yes. I was going to say a Mountain Dew.
Mountain Dew, Mountain Dew, either one. I mean, the bottom line is this: taxes. We're asking for a 3-cent tax raise, and it is a tax increase, and it'll be in bold black letters on the ballot. But the other side of that is the average house in Hereford is $173,808, and on the side for 64 and below, that's going to be 85 cents a month that's going to impact your tax rate. And again, I think we need to clarify, we're talking about school taxes. We're
Right.
not talking about county taxes, city taxes, or any of those other property
Hospital.
taxes we're talking about just your school taxes. If you live in a $173,000 house and you are going to be 65 and they pass the homestead exemption for you, you won't owe any taxes. In fact, they'll go from what you paid last year to zero.
Because right now, the 65 and over tax exemption would be 200,000, correct?
If it
is-
passes, it'll
mhm.
go from 100 to 200,000
For 65 and over.
for 65 and over. The other 64 and below goes from 100 to 140, which is still big.
Because a lot of the things that we hear from the population that's 65 and over is, well, I don't want my taxes to go up because I don't have kids in school anymore. That's some of the things that we've heard in the past.
Correct.
And so I think it's important for everybody to understand that that's an exemption for you for 200,000. So if your home is valuing, like you said, at 173-ish thousand, then you already are at a $200,000 exemption. So you would not be affected by this at all.
No. In fact, you're going to save $500 or $600
And you'd be
over
giving
last
back to
year.
the community. I mean, we have to take pride in our community regardless whether we have kids in school or not.
Well, and our students are our next generation, so we have to
It's our
invest
future.
in them in order to have a better future. And so I think that's really important to understand just as we go forward with this.
Well, I think, and I don't know how many of these superintendent councils you've attended, but we've talked to the kids about this, and the kids are like, why wouldn't you do this?
Right.
Because we can get our bathrooms fixed. We can get, I had a girl graphically describe the need for replacing stalls and doors and latches and those kinds of things that, that are so old in the high school and even at some of the elementary schools that it's almost shameful. And so we've already started the process, and I can already hear somebody say, why aren't you fixing that? Well, we are. We've already gotten bids, and we've gotten some things put into place to go ahead and start that process of changing those, whether this passes or not, because those things have to be fixed. But again, what does it do? It makes you cut something else somewhere because the money's not there.
It's not growing on trees?
No,
Not here?
not here.
We don't have many trees around our area
True,
anyway, so
true.
we'd still be poor, I think, if it did grow on trees. Going back a little bit to that homestead exemption, everyone pretty much is going to vote for it because everybody wants a tax break. But I think it's important to understand that because of those higher homestead exemptions, we are also losing money. The school district is losing money from that, correct?
The only reason the school loses money is because of this. You see the tax rate go down?
Mm-hmm.
That has nothing to do with the homestead exemption. What the homestead exemption does for us is actually allow us to collect this money without impacting the taxpayer because the homestead exemption is going down. So all of your taxes are going to go down for schools, whether you increase them or not.
So where does that money come from? So if
Comes from that's where the state does level up.
oh, okay.
For example, they have to. I'll throw a number out. Every student should be worth $10,000, but they're not. They're worth $62.15, I think. So every student gets $62.15. If your local tax rate doesn't give you $62.15 per student, then guess what happens?
The state.
The state makes sure you get that money.
Oh, okay. Okay. I
So
get it.
whether the homestead exemption goes into effect or not will not affect. It will lower the school taxes for people, but it won't affect the school.
Okay.
Okay.
And we do want to say our students are worth a lot more than that.
No, they are, and in fact, when you factor in inflation, it should be $12,000, $13,000, $14,000 a kid, but it's not. That's getting made up on creative budgeting, going out for grants, federal money, which by the way has also been cut. They froze it in the summer, and then they came out and every grant was cut 5 to 10%. So
And a lot of those programs are at a high need here. I know our migrant program,
yes,
we faced a issue this summer with them and had to find funding for them really fast. And so
well, thankful to the board that they said no, we're going to keep them, we're not going to fire them.
mm-hmm.
So that made us have to get creative and get ready if the federal money didn't come in. So, and
'Cause
we did.
Once again, we didn't have the tree to go and pick the money off of to be able to keep them. So we had to figure out a way to make sure that we still had employees that were being paid at the same rate
Correct.
that they were getting before while our budget was cut.
Yep. And we did, because that's what the board said to do. So that's what we did.
Whatever the board says goes, pretty much. So let's talk about the website, the VATRE website a little bit, and the tax calculator that's on there, because I really feel like that calculator will help people just understand how much they will be paying and how little they will be paying if the VATRE passes. So the website is www.herefordisdvater.com. And if you go to the financial impact tab, you will see 3 sections, and they're all each their own calculator. So the first section is if/when the $140,000 homestead exemption passes on the November ballot. So you can find your homestead appraised value if you don't know it already, and then you can enter it right underneath in that section. So I know me and my mom looked at hers yesterday, and hers was around $315. So if I plug that in, it tells me if the bond is passed, the property tax is projected to increase $3.15 per month. And so that's on the section with the homestead passing. The middle section is similar, except it is with the homestead not passing, which is not something that we predict, but we just have it there just in case. You never know. So if the homestead exemption doesn't raise, then on that same $315,000, it would be $7 a month. But again, we are predicting that it will pass. Texas has never ever not passed one, so we should see that coming this November. And that is for anyone under 65 years old, so 1 to 64. Then the last section is 65 and up, with the homestead exemption passing and raising to $200,000. So say my mom was over 65 and we put in her homestead value at $315, her property tax would only increase $2 a month. But again, like our average houses in Hereford are $173 and $73,000 and some change. If we add that in, it is zero because it's less than that $200,000. So a lot of our homeowners in Hereford will actually see that zero balance or just pennies on the dollar. Like if we put in that 173 on the middle section, it is $4.33, and then the 173 on that top section with the exemption, it is 59 cents. Or if you add in all the extra dollars, I think it's like 61 cents, something like that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is so minimal.
I think it's very crucial that people understand how minimal it really is.
Well, that's why we put the calculators out, so that they can actually go to their tax statements from last year and put their appraised value in there, and it'll show exactly what their school taxes are going to be. That's important. And it speaks better than negative Facebook posts or any, posts that are made not considering the truth.
And I just ask that everybody pay attention to even the negative Facebook posts, and you can see how untrue they are. And you're always available for questions.
Absolutely.
They can call up here. They can ask any question they want. Now we've providing a website for them to be able to use, to be able to see how this is really, really not going to impact that much. It's not going to hurt the pocket as much as people think it will.
And again, it's bringing $1.9 million to our district every year. So approximately every year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is a need. We're in need. Can we say we're begging yet? I don't know.
What else is on that website? Does that have all the information, the frequently asked questions and things? That is the site.
Yes.
So it's got everything. I mean, some of the stuff that we talked about here, you can go back and take a longer look at on that website if you'll log into the website.
Definitely.
And then if you have questions, you can actually email the questions back to the website, and they'll get them back to us, and we can answer them for you.
I like that.
Or you can email me directly, or you can email Kara directly, or even Brandy. We'll take an email.
I'll take an email.
And it has locations on like where you can vote. It has the election dates, the early voting locations, then election day locations. So if you don't know where to go, just hop on there, find a spot closest to you, and it's for Des Smith, Palmer, and Castro counties. So yeah. And there is a big list of frequently asked questions on there. I encourage people to just go look at that because they are good questions that we get quite often, and the answers that we have provided for those. And so it gives a lot of clarification, I think, for just some more in-depth stuff about the VATRE and how the funds will be used and why we need it.
One thing that we didn't mention that I do want to bring up is emergencies. We had the huge hailstorm that hit a few years ago here in Des Smith County, and we had to come up with over $500,000 to pay for deductibles. That is not planned. That money is hard to come by. $500,000 for deductibles for roofs on campuses that have to be fixed. We have to fix those things. And that's another place where this money could be used. It could help fund emergencies, disasters, things like that. Safety and security. We haven't even touched on safety and security. No. That's a whole nother animal where it's a must. And those laws are continually changing as well.
Every year. I mean, most of our air conditioners in the neighborhood of 20 years.
We've replaced how many of those in the last year?
Probably about 6 or 8. In fact, well, it's more than that because we replaced 6 at Esquivel because they were all out this summer. And, those aren't cheap. They're close to $10,000 a piece. So those are emergencies that come up we have to deal with.
Right.
You can't have class without an air conditioner.
No.
And we don't want our students to. So we're going to fix it whatever we have to do, but it's going to mean cutting other people's budgets. It's going to mean cutting programs. And we'd rather just not do that.
Right.
Yeah.
We want the best for our students, and this is one way that the community can give back to us.
For sure.
Correct.
Okay, is there anything else? I know we could talk a
All
long
day.
time about this. But like Brandy said, if you have a comment, about VATRE, if you have a concern, if you have a question, our doors are always open, all three of us, and we are willing to have conversations with you. If you are confused about anything at all with the VATRE, please come in. We have all had a learning process from the beginning of this last year to now. And so we understand it can get overwhelming. It can get confusing. And so we want to be able to provide as much clarity as possible before elections begin. So please reach out to us. And then if you are completely against VATRE, let us know. We are open to hearing that side of the story as well. We're open to those conversations. And even if you want to be on our podcast and voice your side of it, we welcome it. We'll sit you right here in front of the mic and we'll listen to you, and we'll just talk about both sides and things like that. So reach out to us. You can find all of our emails on the Hereford ISD website, or you're always welcome to come up to the admin building and find one of us as well. But I think that's all for today's episode. Remember, just keep an eye out for all that extra VATRE information that's going to be going out here within the next few weeks. Get informed, ask questions if you have them, and just help promote our school district in a positive way, and just keep in mind the kids' lives that you will be affecting this November. So that's all for today. Thank you for joining us. And remember, you can find us anywhere you get your podcast or watch us on Facebook and YouTube. We'll catch you next time.